Hello, everyone, and good evening again. Another episode of School Life Ready Talks. Tonight, I'm here with my co-host Jen, as usual. Every
Hello.
Tuesday at 7:30, we embark on this conversation really aimed at helping families, parents, friends, caregivers of children with special needs, and as a matter of fact, of helping everyone is who have children in their lives who they're taking through the school process. So whether your child has just say learn some learning challenges, or if your child has an identified disability, this show is for you. So welcome everyone. You please, those who are listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Also
Share.
share so we can keep spreading the word. We're doing a good job, but we need to do better at reaching more people. So please, everyone, like, subscribe, share. All right, Jen, how are you, my love?
I'm good. I'm good. It is the last week of school. So it's very exciting. And my oldest kid is going into fifth grade. So we're soon going into middle school. And so I'm ready for this episode to just dive in and talk about what I have to look forward to. Because I'm terrified.
Oh my goodness. You know what? Fifth grade is a really big step because it's the last year of being in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's not yet transitioning in to middle school, but next year for fifth graders, and for all you parents out there who have fifth graders, fifth grade is the precursor to middle school. And so that's when you're going to be learning all of the skills that are needed to be successful in middle school. So, although it's not yet middle school, it's still a very important grade level for school functioning skills. So, gear up, buckle up, it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I've done my research. I guess one of my concerns is that there are so many teachers. So like how are we all going to keep up with each other is a concern of mine when it comes to middle school. I know that for every subject there's another teacher, and that just seems like a lot for a child, especially a child with special needs, to have to keep up and listen to the bell ring constantly and have to go.
Yeah. Middle school is where and it really becomes more challenging for children, especially children who are on the spectrum or have ADHD. Middle school, it becomes really a bigger issue. In middle school, there's things called executive functioning skills that it's every all of us, we have to have good executive functioning skills to be able to do our work, to be able to play games with strategy and um, everything in our life. We have to use our executive functioning skills. And I'm going to go through a quick explanation in layman terms of executive functioning skills. Executive functioning skills, it's the ability for you or your child, anyone, to be able to think, plan, and get things done. So that's the basic definition of executive functioning. So it sounds like a big fancy word, executive functioning. It sounds big. And a lot of parents and teachers now are realizing how important executive functioning skills are, to even from the kindergarten level. The, the ability to plan and to execute and to be able to get things done. That's what our daily life is about. So
Mhm.
pretty much that's what executive functioning skills are. Now, imagine that your child is like the CEO of a company, right? It's the same thing. It's like your child, while in school, has certain jobs they have to accomplish. So it's
Right.
like they have to do the same thing. Like they have to have their goals in mind of what they want to do, and they have to have their plan of how they're going to get it done. So sometimes the kids who have issues with executive functioning, they have issues with getting started. Like
Hmm.
we have kids, I have a lot of kids that I work with wherein just getting started. Like they have the assignment, but they in their heads they're like, I know I'm supposed to get this done, but I don't even know how to start. So getting started can be an issue. So having the skills to get started is one thing. Then once they get started, they have to stay focused.
Okay.
So once you start, you get focused, and then you have to always remember what it is you're supposed to be doing. So that's working memory, like maintaining in your brain. Oh yeah, I'm trying to get this specific task done. So remembering, and then remembering the steps to do the task. It might be a task that is new. So when it's a newer task, it's harder for kids to do. When
Yeah.
it's a task that they have done over and over and over, it's not that difficult because the brain kind of maintain the memory and the sequence to get it done.
Hmm.
Now also keeping track of their time. Like, okay, I have to get this done before the bell rings. So that's another layer component that is piled into executive functioning. So you have to get started, you have to stay focused, you have to remember your steps, you have to pace yourself, right?
Right.
In relationship to the time that you have to get it done. So when a child has issues with any of these, then it affects their ability to get work done. And in middle school, it's so much harder because, as you said before, Jen, there's so many teachers, there's so many classes, the bell is ringing. You only have like, I think in middle school each segment is 45 minutes. So a child with executive functioning deficits, they're going to be the children who always have to take it home for homework because they never finished it
Oh
during the
God.
time they got to do it in class. They're like, oh, yep, take it home for homework. That's always pretty common. Um, Also, they might be the kid who they get their assignments, but if you check their grade book, you'll see not turned in. They didn't,
Right.
sometimes though, they don't even remember to turn it in.
Yeah,
Um,
my youngest is like that. His homework is rolling around all week, and it's like, you didn't turn it in. Like, literally have to put it in his hand and say, when you walk in, hand this to her.
Yeah, and funny enough, like so starting from elementary school, like what you're starting out is you having your plan. If you know your child struggles with any of these, and we're gonna on this program, um, after the summer break and school has started, we'll get more into strategies for parents to use because guys, I know you might be thinking, why is she talking about what what we need to worry about in for the next level now when we should just be thinking about having fun for the summer. But what I want to do is plant the seed. And I don't want for you parents, don't wait till you don't wait till your child is struggling. or until you notice your child is failing something to start. So I just want people to be cognizant of, okay, I know my child struggles with certain things. Let me start thinking about it from now. And remember, last week we started saying, um, we're going to reflect
Right.
on what the school year was. So that's why we're having this conversation this time of the year, because what we're doing, we're reflecting on our children's performance this past school year so we can use the summer to prepare them as best as possible for next school year.
Hmm.
So that's why. So don't be like, oh my God, what is she talking about that now?
No, I think it's always important to get ready. One thing that we do is we go out and we meet the teachers before 2 or 3 weeks. We've done it twice, where we'll meet them a couple of times throughout the summer, just so that I know that he will stay there in the entire day, during the first week of school. So yeah, I am very much so on top of it, and it's like, okay, summer's here, but let's already start thinking about fall. I mean, I'm picking up things that I find in clearance for back to school supplies. My youngest literally asked me the other day, I showed him some shoes and he goes, "You're already thinking about back to school shopping? We haven't even gotten out of school." And I'm like, yes, it's expensive. So I need to break it down for myself. But yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
I do believe that getting ahead is important, and setting those timers, I think, is important, and still having them have to do sit down activities even throughout the summer. So just having those memories, or having those is it core skills or school skills to sit there, if you
Right.
will.
So we're during the summer, yes, it's time for fun, but those foundational skills
Yeah,
that
there you go.
that we spoke about in our last episode for the kindergartners, we want to have our children start practicing. Don't wait till right when school is about to start, then start doing anything. Just we have the summer now. We have more of a more freedom.
Right.
We have more freedom to schedule things and pencil things in, um, because we know that most children over the break they lose some of their academic skills. Most children do. So what we want to do is stay on top of things. Really, like it's just like maintaining, like if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to maintain your weight, you don't say, oh, I'm gonna just slack off and not do anything for 2 months, right? You do little things to keep on your goal. It's kind of the same thing with our children during the
Right.
summer. We just need to do little things, to keep their academic skills intact. And Jen, you always talk about being intentional and get your calendar out. So you want to remind parents of that again, with using the calendar and building things into the day and being intentional about getting activities in for our children over the summer break.
Oh, you're asking me to talk about it? Yeah, so it's quite funny because today during lunch, our schools had already they put out the new calendar for the next school year. I went through my calendar and I started marking down early release days. I got to get off by this time, like parent teacher conferences. So yes, I'm very much like I sat down with my manager today and I said, "Do you want the next 6 months?" She was like, "No, let's work in 2 month increments because I'm always looking ahead." But yes, creating a schedule, like I said last episode, I think it's important to kind of follow that same school schedule so that their stomachs aren't rumbling earlier than they should be, etc. And having them have, even if it's just reading 10 pages My kids are probably not reading, they're just laying there looking at the book, but it's having them have that that's or not, it's not a skill, but that expectation of having to sit down and look at a book and flip through the pages and feel the pages and so on. It's not just about playing with superheroes or holding an iPad or holding the remote. So that's something that we do. I'm constantly trying to involve math. So we talk a lot about money because he's in fourth grade, so they're on that money subject, and so yeah, so I'll implement things like that. Quarters or even rocks or things like that is just um, I guess what I would say is that I try to be intentional about it when we're going on a walk, or it's just finding these odd times to talk about things that are educational. I think is important. But then also planning it and being intentional. My kids are very much into schedules, so having a visual schedule for them is something that we've always done. And then they have, their rewards, whether that's going to the pool one day or riding their bikes or whatever it is. They get to move that over on Fun Fridays is what we call it, because that's something that they do in school. So yes, I hope I answered your question.
No, that's no, you always answer my questions because you always share things. And what I like about Jen and I doing this show is like I will do things from the therapist perspective and do the theory, but Jen will come at things with a real life experience and how it's done. So it because like I am my child is now 23, so
Yes.
I don't have to worry about doing parenting things over the summer.
Yeah.
And when my child was in school, we did a lot of sports. We were always traveling for basketball during the summer. So,
Nice.
and it was good. It was good for him because he was an only child, and the basketball created that atmosphere of him having friends and him being active. So we didn't really do a lot in academics, but we were still working on skills. Um,
Yes.
it's a lot of
Sportsmanship.
skills. Hmm.
Collaborating with your friends. I mean, it's just a team is real life. Like that is what it's like on my team. Like, it's like one person holds the ball and then the other one's trying to catch it and we're all trying to figure out where we're fitting in and, trying to hit goal. So, yes, yes, I think that that's definitely important. My kids are not sporty children. We tried it all, but it just wasn't for us. So, so we don't do things like that. They're more of like creative children, very artsy. So in order for us to get our wiggles out, what I've learned to do is just have like a dancing time or having them like creating obstacles at home is another good way, or just taking them out to the playground. But I think that what for my children, I find to be difficult is collaborating with friends, because everyone has their own schedule. Most kids are in camp. They do go to camp for a couple of hours, but there aren't as many children, and so I do think that when they go back to school there's always that issue, especially with my oldest, with not being able to share again or not wanting to let someone new in his space. So that is something that I now you're saying that I gotta try to implement, is like maybe a karate class, I don't know, something to where it's like this is sportsmanship and we have to share. And um there's so all of my way, if you will. And when they're in school, you can't be that way.
Yeah, but any of the sports, be it something that's not as dynamic like karate, or if it's the basketball or swimming, all those sports are beneficial. If your child likes them and is willing to um, participate. I mean, Jen said her kids don't really like sports that much, but some kids really like it. If parents, if you have the time and the money to get your kids involved in what we call team, especially team sports.
Yes.
There's so many different there's so many different skills to be learned.
Layers. Yeah.
And I know, and I'm not getting any, what you may call, I'm not affiliated with them. But there's a company, and I don't know if that's the one you went through when you tried sports with your boys, but there's a company called I9 Sports,
Yes.
and they have wherein they really cater to children with disabilities and
Yes.
getting them on teams. So that is really something to look into, as well as you try to keep up your child's skills over the summer. For those who are not doing camp, if you can get them signed up in some kind of sports. And of course, I know it's hard, but if you follow Jen's guide and just get your calendar and plug in different activities, different days, wherein you might do visiting the zoo or the botanical gardens on one day, and then on another day you might be home and just do painting with sidewalk chalk or something. Like, you guys can make your activities, so depending on what your child's interests are. um,
Yes.
so definitely doing something like that would really help. One, you won't hear "I'm so bored."
It happens either way though. Like literally.
They still say that.
Oh my God, it's like I just got done setting one thing out and they're like, "Oh, this is so boring." And I'm like, "Oh my God, end of the world." God. But I want to touch on I9 sports really quick. I want to say that I know that for a fact the Bobby Dodd Institute, if you receive their funding, can go towards adaptive swimming, and because we did that for a period, he actually really liked that. Swimming, and the other one was I9 Sports. I9 Sports does take Bobby Dodd, so you really, there might be a chance that you don't even have to come out of pocket. You just have to get them there.
Good. And remember when the parent advocate was on, Miss Alondra Mustafo, she gave us that great website, that autismresource.org website. I don't quite remember the name of the website,
Yeah.
but we can go through there, and there are a lot of resources. There's that Lecotech lending
Yep.
library that lends games and activities as well. So there's so many different things that we can do to really find activities for our children, all different levels, of all different age levels. We can find activities for them. We just need to be a little bit more intentional and make plans. Like, we as parents, I would say, guys, just think about it a little bit and put certain little things in place. You guys can go to my website at www.schoollifeready.com, and on there I'll have different links to the stuff that we've spoken about on this podcast. um, if you don't see what you're looking for, you can send me an email at schoollifeready@gmail.com, and just ask me, say, "Hey, Dr. Cece, I would like whatever you would like to help you and your child over the summer break." Just send me an email, and I will definitely send you all the resources that I have that can help you. So definitely check that out when you get a chance. All right. So we were talking about middle school, and we know it's a big transition going from elementary
Yes.
school into middle school. And for boys and girls, that's the time of all the hormonal changes. So we have to
No.
now also not just think about um, just academic functioning. We now have to think about social, the
Yeah.
social aspect, the social emotional aspects of our children's development and how that affects their participation in middle school. Um, your child is not yet middle school. He's getting ready to be there. I'm I am so far removed from middle school years, but I know that teenage years. All parents talk about having teenagers, and that's why
Right.
middle school they start at, most kids are like 11, 12. They definitely turn into a teenager in middle school, so
Right.
that's another challenging time. um, I'm wondering how parents, like how do you think we can help them with that aspect from the real life perspective of middle school
Yeah.
social
So
emotional.
I've started prep. So we have an emotion, and it's based off of cognitive therapy, and it shows, I don't know if I touched on this before, but it basically shows how, like, when you're happy you're up here, and then when you're mad you're down here, and it feels like with my kids you're either here or here, but there's so much space. And it's like you're really not that mad or you're not that worried, and helping him regulate his emotions is my number one thing. Second thing that I've been working on is we have been talking about puberty and body parts,
Hmm.
and naming the body parts, and just letting them know that, we're respectful, no means no, things like that. So I picked up books from the library. I rely on the library a lot and reading a lot. So I'm also reading a book about how to pretend to be normal. So it gives me a perspective on what it's like, based on a child that is in middle school. So it's giving me ideas as to how, like, what kind of issues he's going to run into. One thing that she really expressed, or the person that wrote the book really talked about, was um, in kind of like pushing your kids towards enrolling into a club, whatever club that is, something simple where it's like that you just have to help them feel like they're a part of something besides just going to school. So like I
Mm.
said, my kids are non sporty, so I
You were having a little bit of technical issues. Jen, your audio went out a little bit there, but what Jen was talking about, okay, you're back. Your Yeah, your audio went out a little
hello.
bit, but that's okay. Are you hearing us, Jen? Okay, Jen is not hearing us. I'm gonna remove Jen, and then Jen can come back. But what Jen was talking about was, she was saying that she's reading a book about pretending to be normal. Um, so your audio went out, Jen. Are you
Sorry.
able, go back again and tell us about that book that you're reading, you as a parent, you are reading that to help your child to transition into mid right now he's going into fifth grade, but you're helping him be ready to transition to take the next step, going into middle school and dealing with the social emotional issues that come with that. So go back again, tell us about the book and what how the
Oh, I
book is
was
helping.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's giving me ideas.
What
So
was the
one
name of
thing,
the book again?
pretending to be normal.
Pretending to be normal.
Yes. And so it really talks, you get ideas as to like what kids go through when they transition into middle school, especially if they're on the spectrum, and how they, they're preteens, so they're pretending to be normal. I mean, I was a teenager once and I had no idea what I was doing, and I can't imagine adding another layer to that. So pushing them to be in clubs is one suggestion that I think is pretty important, because it doesn't have to be a club where they meet once a week, every week, or every day. But it's just having them be a part of something. So having them do volunteer work, just different things in the community, and to feel like they're a part of something more than just going to school. Because middle school and high school is really about socializing also. And like, people make lifelong friends in middle school and high school, they do. And so I want my children to have that kind of experience. And so, which is why I started looking into therapists, looking into cognitive therapy, looking into just various different things that I can help him, steer him in the right direction. We have a whole year to work on this, and the end goal is to help him feel comfortable with the transition.
Yeah. So Jen, you notice, guys, that Jen, she doesn't wait for
Oh yeah,
issues to arise. She's very proactive.
yeah,
And but that's the key that I want people to use as a takeaway is your child's struggle in certain
yes,
areas. If don't wait until your child is falling apart before you start getting support. And that's what I always preach, and I talk about early intervention. And
yes,
early intervention is not necessarily just working with your child birth 0 to 3 years. Early intervention is start taking steps now to put things in place because you or your child is susceptible to certain things coming your way. So don't wait. There are
right.
always resources that are out there. And Jen is an avid reader, and there are so many different books out there that can really, really, whatever the topic is, there's information out there because
And not just, sorry, but you don't have to just read. You can listen to these books in audio. I mean, literally, you don't even have to pay for it. You can go on YouTube, put it in, and say, "Give me the audio version of it," and it'll give it to you in different sections or whatnot. But I mean, you can do that while washing the dishes, listen to it while washing the dishes, listen to it while, going on a run, going on a walk, in the car. It doesn't have to be something that's like tedious, like have to be another layer to your already. It's just something that you're adding on to it. And 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 sometimes I don't want to read, but I will listen or read a page or two. Okay, still keeping that going and learning, and getting more ideas as to how I can help my child have it a bit easier, because they don't.
yeah. So the takeaway from that, guys, is if you know you have your child transition into middle school, and remember what we're doing here is reflecting on this school year. So knowing what you know based on how your child has performed and depending on the feedback you have gotten from teachers, you know what you need to be thinking about this summer. You know what are some of the things you need to be proactive about. And
That's right.
remember, we are here. Any questions? As I said, I posted the email address. You can email your questions and I will get back to you with answers. I promise. And if I don't know, I will send you to somebody who I think should know and will be able to help you. So please send your questions if you have any that we can help you with. And Jen will be more than happy to give you her two cents about what she does,
Yes.
because when I tell you, this lady is full of practical solutions. And I mean, it has come through trials and errors,
Yeah.
but she has it down packed. She has it down packed. So, and as you know, we have, with this community, we have a lot of parents who will be more than willing to help guide other parents. As a matter of fact, all the parents we have had on, they are here to help support other parents. This show is to help all parents and to build a village that we need to be able to support children on a whole, but more so children with special needs. So, all right. So we're covering middle school.
Yep.
And middle school, to me, middle school is a bigger transition than transitioning from middle into high. Because
I
I
believe it.
feel like high school, one, the kids are they know themselves a little bit more
Mhm.
now. They're used to the different changes in classes and teachers. They know how they have to organize themselves. They know that how grades are, what affects their grades and how grades are reported. They know a little bit more. But going into high school is another big transition.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest issue with transition into um, high school is because that's when families start thinking about, the kids are just entering into high school, but college is on their minds already. Ninth grade is like college is on the parents' minds already. And these kids, they have gotten now to the point wherein they're like, okay, I'm kind of knowing myself. So that's a good thing. That's why I feel like middle school is a little bit hard to transition. But going to high school can be scary as well for kids. Oh, did I lose Jen again? Oh my goodness, I don't know what's going on with the audio tonight. Like, Jen, you keep like your audio keeps freezing or going out. I don't know if it's the might be your internet stuff. So I was saying, going into high school is just it can be scary as well.
Yep. Very scary. I think it's for me when my child is in middle school, just collecting data and then knowing how to move forward into the high school years. So I don't know what that looks like for us. I don't know if that means that a parapro will have to go with him to every single class or if he will make it there on his own. I'm not sure what that looks like. But what you said about college being on your mind, college is already on, we've already had conversations about college and what he's going to do and work ethic and things like that. So I hear you loud and clear. I think that once he goes into high school, I'll be looking at college the first year.
Yep. By ninth grade, parents start looking into college. I don't know so much about, um, excuse me. I don't know so much about the kids themselves looking into college, but I know ninth grade kids are thinking of. I mean, parents are thinking of college. But in high school, I think, and that's why it's so important for if your child, again, looking back. So if your child is in middle school now and high school is coming up in August. Looking back at your child's performance
Yes.
during the school year will help guide you as to what you need to put in place for high school. If your child, if you feel like, oh my God, my child struggled a lot during middle school, and they struggled, especially if they struggled with those executive functioning skills that we mentioned before, which is the idea, the planning, the organization, task completion, turning in assignments, memory. those executive functioning skills, if your child struggled a lot with those things, please, please, please make plans at the beginning of the school year to meet with your child's teacher and start exploring what supports can be put in place to help your child. If your child already has an IEP, you're in a good place because the IEP will come with
You're,
those accommodations in place. But if your child is struggling and does not have an IEP in place, you might want to talk to the school about getting your child an accommodation plan, or what's called a 5 or 4 plan, especially if your child has a diagnosis of ADHD. With ADHD, executive functioning skills are that's their symptoms, that you will have impaired executive functioning skills. It's a given once you have that diagnosis, because the symptoms of ADHD is deficits with executive functioning skills.
right.
So as soon as you know, we're looking back and you see that your kid has been struggling with getting work done, turning in assignments, completing writing assignments, keeping up with the pace of
Yes.
of school,
Note
or is
taking.
extremely distracted and can't finish anything, like, don't wait, because a lot of times, remember, a lot of times the school is not, unless it's really, really, really bad, where the kid is really truly like failing, the school is not going to bring it up to say, hey, let's give you some support. But you can, if you know that your child is not meeting up to their level of potential where they can function and feel good, because it's not just about grades that's important. Your child's happiness, your child wanting to go to school, your
Yes.
child maintaining healthy relationships, those things are important as well. So it's not just about grades. So look at your child overall and listen to your child too. If your child is telling you, I hate school, I don't want to go, my stomach hurts every morning I wake up, something is going on.
Right.
Listen to your child and ask for help,
Right.
ask for support.
Yeah, and communicate with your child's teachers. Um, so I know that when my child goes into middle school, I will be that crazy lady that has like a group chat with every single one of his teachers, or a email thread, and it's like I want to know. I want to know that all of you guys are communicating and that we're all using the same language, because that's a very big deal in our house. Is like we all have to say the same words so that it clicks. Um, but you are the parent. Okay, you are the boss and you get to set the expectations. So my expectation is that we're all going to be communicating, we're all going to have a group chat, we're all going to see everything that we're all talking about when it comes to my child. Because it's important. So if that's something that's important to you, then I own it and just say this is what I want, this is what I'm expecting, and there's a they have to deliver legally. They have to deliver whatever you've put on that IEP. They
Yeah.
have to deliver. So it's also figuring out what you want for yourself, how the communication, everything should go for you. So if I see that my kid is being sent with too much homework, then I'm going to say, we're going to have to break this up and it's going to have to go into the weekend. But I also work in corporate America. I can't sit there and do these things with them. They're already doing like fractions, so it's a bit intense. And ratios, like he brought home things and he got 100. So proud of him. But I'm like, why are you guys doing that already? But yes, I think that setting the tone, setting the expectation, knowing, I think that teachers respect you more when you're on top of it than when you're just kind of like nonchalant about everything. Um, so I'm a part of the PTO, and I'm a part of I'll go to board meetings because that's also really important. Like if you have the time, go to the school board meetings. Okay,
Mhm.
like there's so much that is happening. There's so many people making decisions for your child that are going to ultimately affect your household. And it's like if you can go in there and get ahead of it and say, okay, well, this thing passed and I need to figure out what, the school and I are going to have a conversation, then I think that that's super important. But yes, being there and being involved and being a room mom, I'm a room mom, getting gifts. I'm like that person that is constantly bringing things in for the teacher just so that they could be nicer to my kid, if you will, because I know that it's hard. I know that it's hard.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think we
appreciate
do
that.
it as parents who bring the things in. It's not like we're not trying to bribe the teachers, but we're showing
Oh, I
them
know.
appreciation because it is it is hard work. It is hard work for teachers of special needs children.
Hmm.
It is hard work because it takes a level of empathy and patience
Hmm.
to work with a class full of children with special needs. It
Es-
really, really does. So
Especially
we're
children.
grateful and shout out to all the teachers. I
Hmm.
think parents, um, we rely on our teachers so much to help us with our children, and we're grateful for everything the teachers do on a daily basis because I am there with teachers every day in my one of my jobs, and I see it is work. It is work, but I know teachers do appreciate parents who communicate. Teachers, you might think, oh, I don't want to bother her or
Yeah.
him, but don't think of it like that. It's okay as long as you're coming respectfully. Teachers appreciate you communicating. Teachers appreciate you asking questions. Teachers appreciate parents who advocate for their children. Teachers appreciate it when they're working on the same page. Everybody's on the same page. As Jen said, like everyone is speaking the same language. Teachers appreciate that because consistency is the key to achieving, right? So if everyone is doing the same thing, parents and teachers are on the same page, the chances that the child will do better is greater. So we're going to definitely keep advocating for our children and keep communicating with our teachers.
Yes.
So, all right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to last week's episode as we wrap up. So last week we spoke about the transitioning from pre-K into kindergarten, and we said look at the difficulties that your child encountered during pre-K. And um, it's funny because I remember, and I want to address this a little bit. Last week, I said, I remember when Jen's child was going into one of her kids were supposed to go to kindergarten, and Jen was thinking that he wasn't ready to go to kindergarten and she wanted to hold him back. And I said, I never see any real good reason why a parent should hold their kid back. So, with that being said, what I want to do is clarify that. I'm not saying that you must send your kid to kindergarten if you're thinking they're not ready. But what I want you to do is really look and see, is this something that you should be doing, and weigh the pros and cons? Because I do know that for some families, they might have certain values that they hold dear, and they might have different things that are going on in their families and where they think, I don't want to send my child to kindergarten. So I'm not saying that you must send your child to kindergarten if you're thinking that your child isn't ready. What I'm saying is look at the pros and cons that's unique to your child and your child's and your family situation. So I don't want everybody to come at me and say, oh, she said my child is not ready for kindergarten, but I should still send him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason why I, that one big reason that you told me to send him to kindergarten, and I won't forget it, is you said, um, he's just, I think you said something like, well, when kids are in pre-K, they're 4 year olds, and he's already 5 year old. So then he's going to go. They're new 4 year olds, so they're still acting like 3 year olds, and you're just going to regress him. Like he's not going. His behavior isn't going to change. He's still going to be with kids that are hyper and that are in that toddler stage. And so that's where it really clicked to me, where it's like, okay, well, in kindergarten they do have more expectations. They are sitting at a desk. It is more of a structured environment. It's not just play. um, our pre-K was only until 12. I think it was 12, so just a very minimal amount of hours, and they weren't going to collect their data. So that's what really pushed me to make that decision. Was I knew that what I was talking about was more of an educational. He wasn't ready educationally, but socially he wasn't going to get any better. So I kind of had to weigh my pros and cons, if you will, and I decided to move him forward, and it was the best decision. Now we are ending the year, but I know that next year we're going to have the services that he needs, and he's going to do great. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate you for helping me make that decision. Again, it's not for everyone. If your child is just socially shy or just not comfortable all the way, then if that were the case with my youngest, I would have probably kept him in pre-K. But he was there socially. It was just the education that he didn't really care about.
And I always believe that children adapt to their environment. And I always feel like, regardless of where the kid is, if you place them in a more challenging environment, you
Hmm.
will see more growth. As long as it's not one where it's going to more challenging to the point where it's going to dampen their self-confidence, right? Because you
Right.
don't want to put the child in an environment wherein he feels like, oh my God, I can't do anything right, or I don't have it, and then the confidence goes out. But if it's an environment where that with maturity and with time he's going to get there, then by all means, because the more you practice something, the better you get at it, right? So being in an environment that's a little bit more challenging to a child is not necessarily a bad thing, right? And also, when the child is held back into a preschool with younger kids, like what is that child learning any more than what he already has? He already has preschool experience. So
Right.
keeping him in preschool, how is that going to help him?
Right.
So that's where I come from when I have a lot of parents who are saying, "Oh, my child is not ready for kindergarten." What I have recommended to some families too is, if they can afford it, which and that's, again, that is a personal family decision. But sometimes I'll be like, okay, you don't think your child is ready for the big public school kindergarten. Can you afford to put him in a private school kindergarten? Because the kindergarten in private school, it's a smaller number, right? So the teacher ratio is different. The ability for your child to get a little bit more individualized attention is improved. So that's an option as well. Instead of saying, um, he won't make it or she won't make it in the regular um, public school kindergarten, so I'm going to keep him back in pre-K. Sometimes the private kindergarten is like a middle ground, wherein you can give your child a little bit more academic experience, but at the same time not having the challenging environment to deal with. So that's one option for that.
There's a
So, mhm.
Sorry, I just want to say there's another option that some churches offer, and it's called transitional kindergarten.
Mm,
So if you're looking for that type of service, definitely just Google our transitional kindergarten around me, and you might find some options.
awesome. And remember, guys, there are a lot of kindergarten prep over the summer. A lot of daycares have programs, churches have programs, different organizations have kindergarten preps. So if you feel like your child could keep up their skills over the summer before they go into kindergarten, or if you feel like you want your child to experience what kindergarten is going to be like, definitely check one of these programs out. It's a good thing to do to help your child over the summer as well. So, all right, cool. So we have the pre-Ks going to kindergarten. For the elementary school, going into middle school over the summer, start working on those organizational type things, and build your schedule out where you get them out into the community. If you can get them signed up for sports leagues, or even to maybe get a Y membership where they can go to the Y, or any boys and girls club, or I think the boys and girls club might be a little bit harder to get into, because I think they go by income level, and it's more like you have to kind of apply. But the YMCA definitely have programs, all kinds of programs. Look into something like that for your child over the summer, and start getting into the habit of routines. Start practicing structured activities and routines. So that's for kindergarten, sorry, that's for elementary going into middle going into high. It's like what we call maturing time. Really making sure that your children are keeping up with their responsibilities at home. If they getting them to be accountable for themselves, um, just doing things that's geared around self awareness
Mm-hmm.
and self management.
Yes.
That's going to be real good skills for high school functioning. So those are my little tips for getting ready for this transition periods over the summer. So before we go, Jen, what are your takeaway and your thoughts?
Yeah, so for the, I think that all children should be doing this. My kids already do it. But I do think that one way to help them become accountable is giving them chores to do throughout the summer. So it could be as simple as just picking up your clothes and making sure that it goes into the correct hamper. For
Mhm.
us, it's my kids have to fold their own clothes, so it's I think that those are life skills, and I think that that is a part of organization for high school. It's a part of, structure. It's a part of everything. So I think that chores and going into high school are really important, and that's just kind of my thought process on how I'm going to maneuver everything, where there are expectations and things should be done on a certain day, just like it would be in school. Working on projects, it they you can find projects to do literally online on Pinterest, if you will, and then having them figure out how to get their things together, set up for their experiment or whatever project or presentation that they're putting together. So helping them, I think, independent and going into that almost like school, I mean, work environment. So yep, thank you all so much for listening today, watching us today. I hope that you guys got a lot of information. You found this to be beneficial, helpful, and if anything, we just want it to be advice to anyone out there listening.
Yes, that's what we do here on School Life Ready Talks. We help families with children with disabilities just to be able to navigate their everyday lives. We do this because we, I, as a therapist, have seen the challenges that parents have in just helping their kids with disabilities navigate school life, right? And Jen is a mom who has been actually doing it. And so when we come and we share information, it's just to help other parents. And we're trying to build a village wherein everyone will get the information that they need, or they'll be able to see us as a resource to help provide information that they need. So I'm asking everyone who is listening again to like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please share our information so that we can continue to spread the word. So I work in the school system, and I also have a clinic, a private practice clinic where I see children with disabilities every day. But my school system job will be on pause for 8 weeks. So, so I won't have that to do. But what I will be doing over these next 8 weeks is really, really honing in on getting all this information that we are sharing here every night. I'm trying to work where I can get it all in one place for everyone, so that you won't have to listen through a whole hour of each episode to get the information that you need. So I'm going to be working on getting things into small bite sizes for you guys, so that you can always access the information you need readily and easily. So stay tuned, stay with us. I promise we have bigger, better things coming, and we are going to keep being here even during the summer. We're going to try to keep being here live every Tuesday at 7:30. Now there are weeks when Jen and I will be on vacation. So what we will do is ensure that you have something that's coming across to you that you can listen to. We'll ensure that we have that. So until next time, thank you guys so much for listening. And I will see you next Tuesday, 7:30. Have a good night, y'all.
Thank you
Appreciate
guys.
each and every one of you who tuned in tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.